Have you ever had a moment of intuition, a subtle prompting that felt like a deeper truth speaking directly to you? In the heart of the American wilderness, over 150 years ago, Eastern Shoshone chief Washakie had such a moment, a terrifying prophetic vision. He saw the very end of his world, replaced by a mechanized future, steel horses on iron tracks, and carriages moving without a single animal to guide them. But within that terrifying vision of steel and smoke, there was a message of peace, a symbol of hope. The Great Spirit showed him that wisdom, not brute force, would be the path of survival for his people. The prophecy was clear. Don't fight the future, but live in peace and learn from it. But this wasn't passive surrender. This was strategic wisdom. Washakie possessed the clarity to discern what could no longer be changed and the courage to change what he still could. It was an act of profound, active, spiritual discernment. As I leave the Windriver Reservation and the Chief Washakie Highway and travel north toward Togwotee Pass, my journey follows the very path the future took. This route, the Centennial Scenic Byway, was the gateway for the pioneers, the Iron Horse, and the massive change Washakie foresaw. Before the iron tracks were laid, mountain men and trappers explored the land and were among the first to exploit its riches. They were the scouts who proved the wilderness could yield massive economic returns. The peak of this enterprise was the annual Rendezvous, a great, raucous trading fair and a temporary city where trappers, fur company agents, and numerous tribes met. The largest of these gatherings, bringing together thousands, was often held right here in Wyoming, near what is now Daniel. This massive enterprise was driven by a single peculiar demand across the Atlantic: men's fashionable top hats made from waterproof beaver felt. This single accessory, worn in London and New York, was the core economic engine that brought thousands of trappers into the American wilderness. Fueling the earliest exploitation of the land Washakie was fighting to preserve. They were quickly followed by settlers and ranchers. Unlike the transient trappers and traders, these newcomers were anchors, claiming permanent ownership. This relentless tide of people with their demands for land and resources was the human force Washakie was forced to manage. He knew that courage on the battlefield wouldn't stop this tide. It became clear the greatest warriors don't just fight for the present, they fight for the future they can't possibly imagine. He had to prepare his people to fight a new kind of war. Welcome to Dubois. Its history is built on the rugged logging industry, and the town's very name tells an interesting story. The citizens had a name of their own in mind, but a government official filed the paperwork naming the town after Idaho Senator Joe Dubois. In response, the locals began mispronouncing it as Dubois, perhaps as a way to assert their defiance over this bureaucratic change. This playful twist on the name reflects the spirit and individuality of those who settled here, navigating external influences while carving out their own character on this land. The town of Dubois was incorporated in 1914, the same year the Wyoming Tie and Timber Company opened operations here. The massive demand for materials quickly turned this valley into the nation's largest source of railroad ties. This shift meant the town's tough independent spirit fueled an unprecedented commercial boom. The success of this local enterprise was, simultaneously, the fulfillment of Washakie's most terrifying vision. It was the gateway to the massive engine of consumption, the iron horse, that threatened to swallow the Wild West whole. To lay the tracks for those steel horses, thousands of men called tiehacks were sent into this brutal wilderness. We've arrived at the Tiehack Memorial, which sits on this ridge overlooking the Windriver, and what a stunning place for a monument. It was actually erected by the Wyoming Tie and Timber Company itself in the late 1940s, a final monument to their industry and the men who fueled it. Right down to a replica of a log flume that carried the logs down to the river below, and the railroad tie steps. In the early days, ties were delivered to the railroad by floating them down the Windriver on the annual Long Walk to Riverton. This walk took place just after the Windriver peaked in spring runoff, so the ties would move swiftly downstream, but it was dangerous and difficult. Tie jams were risky situations. Workers called polers managed and monitored the logs, riding them on the river walk. Splash dams held back water and ties until conditions were right for a river drive. Their isolated, dangerous labor was a mastery of craft. A single man using only a broad axe would fell a tree and hew two perfect flat surfaces onto the timber, a process called hacking. Now, as we climb to the monument, we find the core of the story. The plaque at the base reads, "Erected to perpetuate the memory of the hardy woods and rivermen who made and delivered the cross ties for the building and maintenance of the Chicago and Northwestern Railway." This monument, carved with the workers' faces, stands as a final, quiet acknowledgement of that sacrifice and the relentless toil it took to lay America's tracks and feed that industrial machine. And that appetite was a demanding and devastating one. Every single mile of railroad track required over 3,000 ties, meaning the forest here was stripped of over 1,300 mature trees for every mile laid. The tiehack era was ultimately brief, lasting until just after World War II. The demand for manual labor vanished as power saws replaced the broadaxe, and finally, as the trucking industry flourished, the market for the ties died. That human and environmental cost was the precise future Washakie had foreseen, a future dominated by industry. Now, we leave that era behind. The railroads were the arteries of the new civilization, but Togwotee Pass was the physical wall that stopped it. It stands as a gateway between the industrious past, the world of the tiehack and the iron horse, and the sacred land beyond, the world Chief Washakie fought to secure. Fittingly, this pass is named for Togwotee, a sub-chief of Washakie's people. He was known as an expert marksman and hunter, the true mountain man of his tribe. In 1873, he guided Captain Jones of the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers through this treacherous terrain. Jones was so impressed by the view of the Teton Range that in his report he predicted this pass would become a vital link for commerce between the Atlantic states and the American West. This is the great irony. The New Age Washakie had prophesied was, in a way, ushered in by the help of his own people. The pass was known to the Shoshone for a lifetime, but it was their expertise that gave the new civilization a path. The tide of commercial change had finally crested here. Washakie secured his reservation, making peace with the inevitable machine. But as I stand here at the summit, looking out at the Grand Teton Mountains, I see the landscape he ultimately saved. The iron horse crested the divide, but its power stopped short of this valley. The battle to save what lay beyond a battle for preservation itself was only just beginning. Next, we cross the divide into the Tetons and uncover the secret plot that saved this land. A fight that pitted powerful local interests against the millionaire and the photographer who finally secured this landscape for the future. Don't miss part 3, The Secret Plot. Until next time, happy trails.